Where's the camera? Today I'm going over 5 things that I used to do in high school, but quickly realized once in college that they're actually not very helpful. The first one is working alone. I used to be the kind of person who just did my homework all by myself, and maybe I would check my answers with a friend over the phone, but on the most part I just came home and finished my homework as best as I could. But in college, I realized that what you need to be doing is collaborating with each other. And some classes have policies on collaboration, so make sure you read those first. But for most of my classes, teachers really appreciated when you got together with other students to talk through your ideas and make sure everyone was on the same page about the concepts. In fact, collaborating really helped me out several times when I didn't know anything about the class or anything about the homework. And at first I would try to get a tutor and try to do one-on-one sessions, but that wasn't very helpful because the tutor hadn't taken the class for a long time. So what I found really helpful was get a group of friends that you trust, and it's not really about sharing notes, it's about kind of sitting down for to problem set together. We call it P set together, basically doing your homework together. So for math, I learned to get together with 3 other people and either check our work or just do the homework right there, then and there. We would meet in the cafeteria and work for maybe 4 or 5 hours straight, and then we would get it done, and I would score way better than if I had just tried to do it on my own. And actually it took less time. I'm not saying you should do it all at once, but it helped a lot to have other people there, just to be like a sanity check, like, hey, I got this number, and the other person's like, I didn't get a number, I got a letter. Then, you know, it's pretty clear that one of you might be on the wrong track. Okay, number 2, I used to buy textbooks in high school so that I wouldn't have to carry them back and forth from school, because we were assigned textbooks in school, but they were like this big, and I had 7 classes. My parents worried about my back, so I would find the copies online. But in college, I realized very few courses actually require textbooks, like require. Many classes will recommend a certain text. This is just my opinion, by the way, or this is just based on my experience, by the way. A lot of classes, especially my STEM classes, were only based on PowerPoint. So the slides are basically what you needed to know for exams. They're what you needed to know for homework, and they would suggest the book in case the slides didn't help you out. But then in addition to that, you have office hours where you can go ask questions to the professors or the teaching assistants. So the textbook just took a really long time to try to read over when you can just ask things, and personally, like, talking it out with someone is much more helpful and sticks in my mind more than trying to go through long passages in the textbook. And another thing is, there is usually a PDF or an old version floating around. Your school library might have old copies. I know our school library just keeps a collection of old textbooks that students just abandon at the end of the year. So if you really want a book, I mean, you don't have to pay $200 to get a textbook. But I do know that some of my friends had to buy like the most recent edition of this economics textbook. Well, yeah, in those cases you might have to pay up. But in cases like where you have to buy a course pack that has just reading in it, usually they give you the reading list. So if your university has like an archive system, or if they have, you know, access to a bunch of research papers or other publications and other journals, then you're pretty much able to find those same articles online. And if anything, you can go to the library and scan it. That's what I did for one class. We had a course pack that was like $80, but instead, my friend and I just one afternoon went to the library, got all of the books together, and then scanned everything, and then we just had it on our computers. Okay, that leads me to my next thing, was I stopped carrying textbooks. And by that I mean to and from class. So in class, I would always take my textbook to class, but in college, you shouldn't really, I mean, you don't really have time to crack open the textbook because most classes are gonna go based on PowerPoint, like I said. And so it's kind of hard to follow along if you already crack a textbook open and you want to take notes and you're looking at the PowerPoint. And usually the professor provides those slides to you.
I just think in college nowadays, the trend is kind of moving away from textbooks, and that's not true for every field. I studied science, math, a little bit of humanities, but I can't speak for like computer science, or I can't speak for economics or government. But in my experience, I hardly ever needed to buy a textbook, and if I did, I kind of regretted it because it was really, really expensive, and I ended up not really reading out of it either.
The next thing I did in high school was I was involved with everything. I was in sports. I did like all the after-school programs, and I think I was juggling maybe like 6, 7 extracurricular activities, and I somehow got through it in high school probably because everything was really structured. Like, you definitely go to school at a certain amount of time, and then everything was scheduled in advance for you. So if you had a meeting for this and that, since the teachers were the supervisors, they would say only on Wednesdays we'll meet. Kind of knew the plan for the rest of the semester. But in college, it may be that way, but it might not, because if you're involved in, let's say, a theater show, that's going to take up a lot of time, just rehearsing, or tech week, or the performances, and it really throws a wrench into your other things. And I found that if you just focus your time on maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe at most 4, even then that's kind of a lot, but just I think 2 is a good number to really devote yourself and try to become really involved with the people and make connections, and to have leadership positions. And I think that's more meaningful than trying to pile a bunch of things onto your resume. So
something I would recommend is think about how you can kind of tell a story from your time in college. So let's say you're interested in becoming a marketer or something, then they could see from your courses, maybe you take math or a bunch of courses, I don't know, but then if they look at your extracurriculars and they see that, oh, you did musicals, you were in the band, you did yearbook, you did like radio and the school newspaper, like it's kind of hard for them to see how you were interested in marketing.
Especially like if the school doesn't offer a marketing major, and it doesn't at my school. So people who got into marketing would be very focused on what kind of extracurricular activities that they did.
So one was involved in this fashion show, and he would be like the publicist. He would reach out to sponsors, and in that way he kind of got his marketing experience. And so people saw that even though he didn't have a marketing major, he still got a lot of experience, and in the summers he would go intern at the marketing firms and purposefully seek out those opportunities that can all tie in to create a profile of him and what he was aiming for.
Okay, the last thing that I stopped doing in college. So in high school I would do this, in college I wouldn't do this. In high school I would never ask for extension of deadlines for papers or homework assignments, because a lot of teachers just had like a zero tolerance, zero exception policy on late work. That's not always the case in college. In fact, professors can be understanding if you say, I'm going through this hard time because of something in my family, or I just feel really stressed because I have all of these assignments due on this exact date. You can ask nicely and they might say no, but sometimes they'll say yes to an extension. I remember getting an extension for a couple of my papers, and they gave me maybe like 3-4 extra days, but my other friends got anywhere from like a week to like just whenever you get it done. So it really depends on how the professor feels and your relationship with them. But it honestly never hurts to ask. And my freshman year, I thought it was like no late work will be accepted. And so I felt really stressed out, and I turned in some not great work because I was more worried about meeting the deadline. But afterwards I talked to my friend who said he got extensions for a bunch of his classes, because I guess the professors don't know if you asked for more than one extension across your classes. And so even though he was a freshman, he knew that you could ask for extensions, and that's what he did. And he probably had more time to turn in something that was of better quality than probably what I did, because I stayed up really late trying to work on it. So not saying it happens every time, but it doesn't hurt to ask for an extension. And that's something I wish I knew starting freshman year. Well, good luck.